I'm back after I think 6 months of not posting a video. Well, I got home from my tech training and I finished my training at my actual base. So now, hopefully videos will start coming in more frequently, hopefully, fingers crossed. But today I want to talk to you about how my entire military process started, and that's Meps. Meps is Military Entrance Processing Station. It's where you go to get your physicals done, get your hearing, your vision test, your Asvab, to determine what job you qualify for or if you qualify for the military at all. So no matter what branch you're going into, every branch goes through Meps. You're actually all going through it at the same time. So when I went there, I was with Army, Marines. So in this video, I'm gonna break down for you what my experience at Meps was like and some tips and tricks on what you can do to prepare yourself for Meps. It's really not bad. It honestly was just one hectic day. Before you go to Meps, there are a couple of things that you should do. You should watch videos like this. I know there's a ton out on YouTube already about what to expect when going to Meps. You'll get different people's opinions, different genders, different military branches on what they did on their day of Meps. There's also 2 different ways that Meps can go. You can either do your ASVAB one day, and then the following day you'll go and do all of your tests, or you can do all of it all in one day, which is what I did. I recommend doing it all in one day so it's just done and over with. You're going to want to study for the ASVAB. When you're studying for the ASVAB, you could also do online practice tests, which I can link in the description below, hopefully if I can find one again. But you can also ask your recruiter for practice tests as well, which is where I found mine. They do also have practice test ASVAB books that you could also use. Now, whether you're doing one day or 2 different days, you will be staying the night at a hotel the day prior. So for me, I did all of mine in one day, but I came the day before, and so I had to pack a small bag to bring all my belongings. The only thing I packed in there was whatever I was going to sleep in and whatever I was going to wear the next day. The day you're at Meps, you want to wear just like a plain t-shirt, a plain set of joggers, or you could wear loose jeans without any rips in them. I wouldn't recommend wearing leggings, as seeing it as professional military. Before you go to Meps, obviously you're meeting with your recruiter. Don't be afraid to ask them questions. They are there to help you. They went through the same exact thing that you're about to go through, so they know the ins and outs. And they'll also have a better understanding of the specific Meps station that you'll be going to, because it's likely that they went through it as well. Although it might be a completely different timing, they might have 5, 10, 15 years before you're going, it's still relatively going to be the same. The day before Meps, like I said, I stayed in the hotel that everybody else going to Meps with me was staying in. So I drove myself there. It was about 2 hours away, which honestly wasn't bad considering some other people's commute. We all stood in a gigantic line waiting to check in. Definitely be there early if you want to be in the front of the line. Otherwise, you're going to be standing in line for at least an hour. Because of COVID, I don't know if they've changed this recently, but because of COVID, when I went, we got our own room. When you checked in, you just told them, I believe, your social security number, your last name, and all of that, and they gave you your room number and your room key, and you just went into your room. You could go downstairs, and they had free dinners for everybody. I have a clip, actually, of when I was at Meps, and I'll show you the food.
So they gave us this salad and a little bit of dressing with it, and then they gave us dessert. I think this was a strawberry cheesecake crumble thing. I ended up not actually eating it. Then for the main course, we had rotisserie chicken with potatoes, meatloaf, and cauliflower. The meatloaf was actually the best thing, along with the potatoes.
So after I ate dinner, I called my recruiter like he asked me, and we just went over what was going to happen the next day at Meps, kind of calmed my nerves down, and I just went to bed. We had to be up the next day at 3 a.m., so I had a very, very early night to bed that night. The next day, the big day, the hectic day. You wake up, 3 a.m. Breakfast was at like 4 a.m. and then we were on the bus before 5 a.m. to get to, I'm from New Jersey, so we went to Joint Base McGuire, which is where the Mep station is. When you wake up in the morning, you want to make sure all of your stuff is packed. You're not leaving anything because you're not going back to your hotel room at all. At the end of the day, if you drove to the hotel, you'll get driven back to your hotel. You won't have access to your room anymore. So you want to make sure that you have everything packed up, but you want to make sure you have a couple of things on you at all times that you're not leaving in your bag. You want to make sure that you have your social security card, your driver's license, and your enlistment papers. You want to make sure you have all three of those things on you at all times. The way mine worked was we all got on a bus before 5 a.m. and then we all drove to Joint Base McGuire. It was dark. I had no idea where we were going. I didn't know what the base was. It was a little bit scary, but it wasn't bad. Like, you know, you're with people that are going through the same things as you are. Everybody else is freaked out. It's fine, trust me. You go through a long line again because everybody has to go through a metal detector, get their paperwork, give their paperwork, meet with the recruiters to figure out what exactly are you doing that day. And you all get shuffled in these different lines. People are telling you different places to go, different things to do. I started with my vision test. I got right to my vision test, passed that, and they were like, all right, you're scheduled for the Asvab, you gotta get up and do the Asvab. So then I'm like walking around this building, I find the place for the Asvab, and I've taken the Asvab 2 or 3 times prior to Meps, but I had taken them on paper. So at Meps, how we did it was we took it on the computer, which is a little bit different, and I wish I would have known that beforehand. Take the Asvab test, and then you took, I can't remember the actual name for it, hopefully I'll look it up and put it like here or something, but it was like electronic test for software, internet, techie test. I was not aware that I was going to be taking that test that day either, but it was a lot shorter than the Asvab. It was probably like the equivalent of one section of the Asvab. So from the Asvab, I went straight to my hearing test. Thankfully, I got to finish my Asvab because a couple of people did not finish theirs and therefore had to come back the next day or schedule a whole new Meps date. So I did my hearing test and then they shuffled me to, it's a room with like little cubby curtain areas where you just strip down, you do the infamous duck walk, you do a couple other weird movements where you're just walking back and forth. You're making sure you don't have any restrictions in your movement and that you can perform everything to the best of your ability. They're also going to look you up and down and make sure you don't have any marks, any scars that aren't reported, anything that looks like you had surgery that you didn't tell them about. Anything like that, they're looking at you up and down to make sure you're not lying to them. That's the big thing. They're checking your paperwork that you filled out with your recruiter against what you look like now. Then you get inspected by the doctor. So she or he is going to look you up and down. If you have a male doctor and you're a female, I'm almost 100% certain that they have to have a female in the room with you. So if you have a male doctor, don't worry, there will be somebody there to be with you at that time. The doctor also inspected my teeth. You also had your blood drawn. They take only 1 to 3 vials of blood, which if you've ever had your blood drawn before, that's really not that much. It took less than 10 minutes, I feel like. Then at the end, you met with the recruiter, she or he, said you come into this hallway and you had to deadlift 70 pounds and then you had to deadlift to overhead 60 to 50 pounds. I did not know this was going to happen, so I was very ill prepared. I did it anyway, but it's good to know that that's something that you're gonna have to do. If you can't do that weight, they will lower the weight for you. The reason they do this is that you have to be able to deadlift and lift over your head a certain amount of pounds for certain jobs. So if you can't lift that poundage, then you can't qualify for those jobs. After everything was done, you call your recruiter and you're like, hey, I finished, can I get a ride? And my recruiter's assistants picked me up from the base, drove me back to the hotel, and then from the hotel, I just drove home. So that was my entire Meps day. All in all, it really was not bad. It's really hectic trying to figure out where you're supposed to go. There's a lot of people running around. You have a checklist that you're carrying with you. And if you notice something's not done on your checklist, you see that you haven't done your hearing test, just go up to somebody and be like, hey, excuse me, I haven't done my hearing test yet. Is there any way that I can get in line for that? Stuff like that. The people there were very nice. I've heard a lot of bad things about the people at Meps, but I personally had a really great experience with them. They were super nice to me. Your recruiter gets your ASVAB scores and all of your information typically that day or possibly the next day. Because I'm Air National Guard, I did not have to pick my job or swear in the day of Meps. So I actually got my list of the jobs that I qualified for when I got home that day. And that way I could go online, research them, really see what job I wanted to do. And then I told my recruiter later that day or the next day which job I wanted to pick. So it was a really fast breakdown of what Meps is in a general sense. If you have any questions about the hearing test or the vision test or more about the Asvab, I might make a separate video of all those different things. If you want, leave a comment down below. None of the tests are super hard, especially for the Asvab. I should just consider studying for it. Basic math, basic science. There's plenty of tools online to help you study for the Asvab. Again, if you have any questions, leave them below in the comments. Any comments you have, leave them in the comments. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. My DMs on my Instagram are open as well. You can follow me at ems.i.l.y. I'll see you next time.